Thanks to join the channel here over on Subscribestar. You know, the funny thing, everyone's arguing about Elon Musk and kicking off reporters last night, but your government passed a $900 billion defense spending budget, and there's giving money to foreign countries left and right. You taxpayer money. It's not government money, and there's literal homeless tent cities throughout America. And I mean, like, the money's literally going out the door. And you look at it and you're like, oh, gee, our representatives sure would be a good time to do something about this. It's like, no, they're going to spend more on defense and giving taxpayer money to Ukraine and various other countries. Like, oh, it feels like somebody should do something about this. It doesn't really feel like a country anymore. It feels like the end of a country. Anyway, click the links if you wish. So James Gunn has got this weird Balenciaga type of vibe. The whole thing kind of makes me wonder about what's going on behind the scene with this Henry Cavill thing. So what happened? Henry Cavill left The Witcher because it got woke. And Henry Cavill, as I went down this rabbit hole a little bit, is starting to give me the vibe that he's not woke. And how far that goes, who knows? It's all relative, but it's a brick wall in Hollywood, which I think got him yeeted off of Superman. But then I read his Instagram and I read the James Gunn tweets and I started to put these pieces together. James Gunn is a legitimate weirdo, and he's got a thing with kids and Epstein Balenciaga type of vibe. It's weird when all this stuff started coming out a long time ago. It's some hot words for YouTube, but the Italian food kind of restaurants and the furniture stuff, all that stuff, like these tinfoil hat conspiracy theories came out, but it's like they kept coming out, and you're like, is anyone gonna do a deep dive? And the weird thing about the furniture thing that came out is, like, within 2 hours of that story coming out, the media is running cover and saying it's all fake. I'm like, the story's 2 hours old. How'd you interview all these people? How'd you gather a story together? How do you come out within 2 hours of this furniture scandal and say that it's like disavow it? That tells you more than anything else. There's there are some legitimately weird things going on here. It's like, with that island, it's like that actually exists. That's not a right-wing conspiracy theory. It's actually out there, and the client list is not out there, but Maxwell's in prison for, I guess, hurting nobody. I guess the victims are just invisible, or the victims are out there, but the Johns who are on that island. So any justice for them? Or are they just going to slide? Oh, I guess we're just going to let this one slide. Yeah, rest in peace to Sam Bankman-Fried. I mean, soon. And probably to Maxwell also. So James Gunn's got a thing with kids. He had a bunch of old tweets about abusing kids that were reprehensible. If you read them, though, some of them are archived. I mean, you can find them if you look for them, but you're going to have to look a little bit hard to find them because the internet search engines do not want you to find those tweets. The thing is, after you read them, you'll never look at James Gunn again after his tweets. Maybe he was joking, fair enough, but I mean, more so that he has a screw loose. He's just not playing with a full deck. And it says a lot about Hollywood that his tweets were fine until, as long as he's making Hollywood money and pushing their narrative. Until some people on the right blew up his tweets, and I think Cernovich was one of the guys, and he seems like a weirdo also, but perhaps he's just less weird than James Gunn, and he took the tweets down. Then Disney gave him a year off, then hired him back because Disney also has a thing for kids. As it turns out, a lot of people in Hollywood do. But Henry Cavill wanted to stick with the source material for The Witcher, and that sends a big that's cool. That sends a big signal to Hollywood. Then I realized that you got a alpha Chad type of dude who thinks for himself, and that's not welcome in Hollywood. Someone who has principles, who won't, if you saw the Zoolander, Ben Stiller, it's like Hollywood actors will just do whatever you tell them to do, and that's not him. It's like, well, you're not welcome in Hollywood. This is in 2022. Hollywood is not the environment for you. So who knows? Maybe Superman was planning on getting woke, which, now that I start to think about it, is just almost have to be guaranteed to happen. So then I go read Henry Cavill's Instagram, and he's got a post celebrating Men's Day. It's like most people didn't even know that exists. That's a Hollywood career killer right there. He also has a Remembrance Day post, because I guess he's from the UK, which is another career killer. So to me, and to you, if you're listening to me, he's probably on the left, but not to Hollywood. everything's a relative scale. What do you mean? You don't want to diddle kids? You must be in Hugo Boss. Yeah, that's the funny hill they're dying on, that far right values are free speech and protecting kids, which is like, okay, well, challenge accepted. So I got this vibe that Hollywood and James Gunn are into this whole Epstein, Abramovich, spirit cooking type of thing, and Cavill is not. Call me crazy, but it's not as crazy as it was a few years ago. So the next stage is Henry is hired for Warhammer, which sounds great. That seems like a lot of fun for him in that role, except it's coming from Amazon. And suddenly it's like I don't know, what's the sound effect, the deflating balloon or something, because they did Wheel of Time. It's like, you could play that sound effect on a cell phone? No, I don't think I can do any special effects on a cell phone. Wheel of Time, right, from Robert Jordan's books. I think he wrote about a dozen in the series. Which you didn't see because nobody saw Wheel of Time, because it looks like this United Colors of Bennington checklist of diversity purse puppy hires, because it's woke. And then they made Rings of Power, which you might have cringe watched, but I suspect that people didn't pay to watch it. So you have two series that I'll say aren't very good, like, but they're diverse and expect you to like them because of diversity, except that diversity sucks, and I wonder how much longer I can say that on YouTube. That's called, I'll just call cultural Marxism. It's the opposite of selling point. It's an aversion point. There needs to be a better phrase for that. This is like this Bechdel test philosophy. It's literally propaganda. When you're making a movie, goal of movies, make money and, I don't know, create art, I suppose. But obviously it's a business, right? But the new Hollywood philosophy is there's a checklist of things that they want in the movie. That's literally the definition of propaganda. It's what happens when Hollywood is the machine, where if you want to get the Film Actors Guild and production and distribution, then you have to make propaganda. Even Kevin Smith's, what was that movie? Jay and Silent Bob Part 2 made fun of it. They need to seize as much control as possible, because if you allow one production company to escape all this and just make old-fashioned films with hot blondes being kick-ass, then people will go see those movies. If a company just told GLAAD, I think it's spelled with two A's, and the advocacy groups that are out there, they're like the Hollywood equivalent of ADLs, PLC, ACLU, that if they didn't want to watch their movies, hey, just go watch what you want to watch or make your own movies. But, you guys want to change our movies? Well, these movies are not for you. And it's like that kind of adult conversation just doesn't happen online, because these people keep pushing. But you don't see that, because everyone in Hollywood is woke. It's not that Netflix is suddenly going to say, oh, you know what, screw it, let's make some films circa 1977. The gatekeeping starts so early that there's nobody allowed in Hollywood that isn't woke. They just never get to advance to that point. The whole machine is against them. A production company will never get off the ground because the Hollywood machine, the banks, the unions, the activist groups, would never let the company ever get off the ground. The money just wouldn't be available. If a Kevin Smith type of guy just kept making his small movies, but they didn't adjust for the cultural Marxist times, then the woke crowd would find a way to make sure that those movies didn't get made. It's not like nobody in the mainstream is gonna break out of the matrix, because so where are they gonna sell the movie? How are they going to distribute it when there's like 6 companies that are all on exactly the same page? I mean, you're going to have Hollywood, like, they will burn Hollywood to the ground before they start making like old movies again. The point of Hollywood is not to make movies or even to make money. It's to push cultural Marxist propaganda. Anyway, I was looking for 70s Bush, and this image came up, which I guess is close enough to be allowed on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.